They called him the King of Cocaine, or El Patron, meaning the boss. As the sole leader of the Medellin cartel, Pablo Escobar was feared and respected in equal measure. He was known for his ruthless tactics and his army of sicarios, who were ready to kill anyone that stood in his way.
Sicario is a Spanish word for assassin. These are people who would give their lives for Pablo Escobar. These were the tough guys. I mean, no remorse, just kill you in a heartbeat. Hey, go kill that guy. Okay, bam, let's go get lunch.
But sometimes, the death would not be as quick. Welcome to Trapdoor. In today's video, we'll look at the worst torture techniques by Escobar's hitmen. John Jairo Velasquez was Pablo's chief hitman. He got his nickname Popeye due to his protruding jawline, which he later changed through surgery. But unlike the fictional character, Popeye was no hero. He was a cold-blooded monster who confessed to killing around 257 people for Pablo. And like that number isn't terrifying enough, he also organized the killing of over 3,000 people by other sicarios. But what would make someone this evil? From a young age, Popeye had a morbid fascination with guns and violence. He even tried joining the Navy, hoping to find some action, but he would later say that he was disappointed to find the Navy only had old wooden boats and no warships. I only wanted to shoot, kill, and get adrenaline kicks. So he ended up quitting the military and began living on the streets and hustling. When he was 17 years old, he met Pablo Escobar, who ushered him into a life of unspeakable violence. This is what he said about his first meeting with Pablo. "When I first met Escobar, it was like I had seen a god. He had this huge presence, like an aura around him. He had incredible magnetism, but was exaggeratedly plain. The day I looked in Pablo Escobar's eyes, I knew there and then I would die for him if need be." Soon after meeting Pablo, he made his first kill.
Tumbado la mamá de un amigo nuestro, cuando conducía, no esperó que se bajara, y no que la señora se iba a bajar y se cayó y la mató. Y la dejó ahí tirada como un perro. Entonces ese fue mi primer asesinato.
After this, Popeye would go on to kill so many more people for Escobar. He would look his victims in the eyes when carrying out the heinous act and not feel anything. He even said in an interview that the idea that a person cannot sleep after killing their victim did not apply to him. To him, it was just a job like any other.
I was a professional killer. Whenever I took a life, I didn't feel anything. Not shame, not sadness, not happiness. It was simply like a day at the office carrying out Don Pablo's orders.
This unique quality and appetite for blood really impressed Escobar, and he rewarded him by making him one of his right-hand men. In return, Popeye was extremely loyal to Escobar, who he described as an evil genius.
Pablo el Patrón era un guerrero, era un visionario del crimen, era un hombre que amasó una gran fortuna. Pablo Escobar Gaviria era un hombre que te miraba a los ojos, era leal con uno, no lo mataba por no pagarle un dinero, y si uno mataba a un presidente de la República, para él te protegía. Y Pablo Escobar Gaviria me acabó de enseñar lo que yo ya traía de la Marina, la disciplina.
He took his job so seriously that he would even avoid anything that he deemed as a distraction.
No he sido ambicioso, he sido un hombre muy trabajador.
Nunca tomó
No, nada, no he sido...
droga,
No, nada.
alcohol, nada.
Y como no tenía en esa época ni novia ni nada, entonces yo trabajaba las 24 horas, los 8 días de la semana.
At some point, Popeye did get a girlfriend, but she happened to be one of Pablo's exes. Although Popeye claimed to love her, he didn't think twice when his boss asked him to kill her.
Bueno, cuando estaba hablando con ella, la intervienen los muchachos míos. Los dos le dan con revólver. Entonces yo oigo los tiros por acá y por acá. Y mismo me salió una cosa a mí de acá, de rabia y de amor y todo lo que yo sentía. Son emociones demasiado fuertes. Entonces yo paso así para respaldar a los muchachos. Entonces ya los muchachos en las motos sacan los sicarios, yo la miro así muerta en un charco de sangre ahí, y ahí terminó mi relación con Gwen.
If he would do this to someone he supposedly loved, imagine what he did to others. He has been associated with the murders of some very prominent people, including the governor of Antioquia, Antonio Roldan Betancourt, chief prosecutor and politician, Carlos Mauro Hoyos, and popular presidential candidate, Luis Carlos Sarmiento, who was apparently very vocal in wanting Escobar to be extradited. Popeye is also linked to the kidnapping and accidental murder of a female journalist, who also happened to be the daughter of a Colombian ex-president. He was also the mastermind behind some 200 car bombs during Escobar's Medellin cartel war against its rivals and the Colombian state. But perhaps the thing that makes Popeye even more terrifying is that he didn't just kill his victims. He used horrifying torture methods to ensure that they died a slow, painful death. In 1986, the then Colombia President Virgilio Barco created a special police unit, Search Block, with the sole mandate of hunting down Pablo Escobar. In an interview, Popeye described the horrifying torture methods that the police unit used on Escobar's men to get them to reveal their boss's location. Popeye said that he and his men started fighting fire with fire.
They put my friends alive in the incinerators. They were throwing my friends alive from helicopters from more than 1,000 feet in the rainforest. I found my friends with their knees, teeth, and brains drilled. So we started to do the same, and more, under those war conditions because one has to have that mentality to survive. It was easy to kill. I had work to do. It was not a problem.
But these torture methods were not just reserved for Escobar's enemies, but for everyone who dared betray him. Popeye recalled an incident where two brothers had apparently been stealing from Escobar. At the time, the drug lord was being held in his own prison known as La Catedral, but he could still run his drug empire. When he heard about the betrayal, he invited the brothers to La Catedral for a chat. Then once inside the prison, he gave the order for them to be tortured and killed. And without thinking twice, Popeye said that he cut off their legs and arms, then burned the bodies. They wronged, we righted it. Needless to say, Popeye made a lot of enemies because of his actions, and he actually thought that he would end up being killed by one of them. But in an ironic twist of fate, he actually died a natural death, though a very slow and painful one, as a result of stomach cancer. Dandany Munoz Mosquera was another hitman who many said could take a bullet for Pablo without thinking twice. His nickname La Kika actually means the fat girl, and while it might sound funny, don't let it fool you. This man was said to be the most ruthless of all Pablo's assassins, and that's saying something. He was responsible for killing over 220 people, including police officers, judges, and high-profile politicians. The DEA referred to him as a killing machine who had to be stopped.
Of all the sicarios, this guy right here, this is La Kika. He's probably the most notorious, one of the most dangerous sicarios that Pablo had working for him.
Born on August 27, 1966, to a family of 9 children, Dandany Mosquera got his nickname, La Kika, from his great-aunt, Kika, whom he resembled as a child. And while he really hated the name, it stuck with him. La Kika's family was not your average Colombian family. His dad was a police officer, while his mom was an evangelist and social worker. Like most of Pablo Escobar's hitmen, wanted a shortcut out of poverty. One of his brothers, Brance, also known as Tyson, due to his resemblance to boxer Mike Tyson, was already a member of the Medellin cartel, and although he was not that high up in the ranks, he always had money to spare for drinks and women. La Kika really admired this lifestyle, so at the age of 12, he decided to join the cartel. At first, he ran small errands, such as stealing motorbikes and burning down stores, but he soon graduated to committing murders for the cartel. At the time, Pablo Escobar was offering an equivalent of $4,000 as a reward for every cop that was murdered in Medellin, and La Kika wanted that reward, so he would hunt down cops and kill them in cold blood before curving his initials, KK, on their bodies. Between March and June 1989, he's estimated to have murdered more than 50 police officers who were just doing their jobs. But he did not just kill police officers. He's said to have planted explosives in a plane that ended up killing 110 people. And if that's not terrifying enough, he planted dynamites on a school bus, which blew up and killed 70 people, most of which were children. Yeah, no one is safe around this guy. But it was not just his tenacity and efficiency in killing that made Pablo like him so much, but the fact that he actually enjoyed doing it. For those unfortunate victims that he would kill using his own hands, he would go overboard by skinning them alive or even castrating them.
I mean, this guy, that's death walking on the earth. It's unbelievable. That's how violent this guy is.
At some point, he had over 100 sicarios under his command and was believed to run a training camp where he transformed poor teenagers into ruthless assassins. Interestingly, throughout his time at the Medellin cartel, La Kika was arrested multiple times for theft charges, but never for murder. He, also, never stayed in prison for long because he would bribe his way out. At one point in 1990, he's said to have paid more than $500,000 in bribes to get out of prison. But after the plane bombing in 1989, he got on the U.S. authorities' radar because 2 of the people killed were American citizens. In September 1991, he was finally arrested in the U.S., where he had gone to carry out another assassination for Pablo.
We swoop in, put him in custody, and we ask him a question. What's your name? Well, right there's his name, Dandany Munoz Mosquera. He gave us a fake name, I don't know, Juan Valdez or whatever.
La Kika ended up being charged with murder, terrorism, and trafficking. He's currently serving 10 life sentences in a U.S. prison, though he still claims he's innocent.
Por vida en la cárcel. Yo les dije que por qué, si yo no había cometido ningún delito. Y ellos les dijeron que no les importaba, que si yo les ayudaba, ellos traían a mi familia para acá y me daban dinero. Pero que si no les ayudaba, me iban a condenar a cadena perpetua o me iban a matar en la silla eléctrica. Y me condenaron a cadena perpetua y...
Nelson Hernandez was one of Pablo's closest and top lieutenants. Because of his African descent, the cartel had nicknamed him Blackie, or Flipper. He had been with Pablo since the very beginning of his empire, and did all his bidding without question. He was even trusted to watch over Don's family. Just like the other two guys that we talked about, Nelson was an efficient, cold-blooded killer who didn't think twice about taking innocent people's lives. He was also known to be a bully and used fear and intimidation to get what he wanted. One time in 1992, he was given the responsibility of killing Gerardo Moncada, who Pablo apparently believed was treacherous, and without even batting an eye, Nelson kidnapped Gerardo, beat him to death, and then dismembered his body. He also helped his boss out of some jams by killing judges and burning all the incriminating evidence against him. But probably his most heinous crime was in 1993, when he planted 220 pounds of explosives in a car parked in the Bogota shopping center. The bomb left over 20 people, including children dead and 70 injured. He reportedly regretted his actions later after watching the news of the devastation his actions caused. He then apologized to God and vowed never to do something like that again. It was at this point that he started questioning Pablo's orders and sensing that his boss was going crazy. After the bombing, he was reportedly supposed to find Pablo's wife Maria and their daughter Manuela, but he lied that he had seen them in a hotel window so that Pablo wouldn't force him to stick around until he found them. But as he left that payphone, he was arrested by police and interrogated by DEA agents. Rather than be hanged for his crimes, he cut a deal with the DEA and gave up the location of some of his associates. After that, Nelson completely disappeared from the scene, and no one really knows where he is or what happened to him. Some say he's in witness protection, while others believe that he's already dead. There are even those who argue that he never existed and was just a fictional character in the Netflix series, Narco. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.